The internet spent months arguing about Elliot Page in Nolan's Odyssey. In the first minute, an arrow straight through the chest, dead. One line, and he's gone. You sit there thinking, that was a lot of noise for nothing. But here's the thing. About 90 minutes later, Odysseus raises the dead, and who crawls back on screen? Elliot Page, a ghost. In 90 seconds, the character nobody needed to worry about delivers the most pivotal dialogue in the entire film. Go home, get your wife, and head west. Everything Odysseus does from that point forward is set in motion by a dead man's speech. Did Nolan predict the controversy, or did he just enjoy the irony when it landed? I really don't know. Either way, that's not an accident. Kill him, bury him, bring him back to deliver the thesis. That's a filmmaker who knew exactly what he was doing. Hi, I'm Matthew Lawrence. I've been a filmmaker and editor for over 30 years. Welcome to The Rough Cut. I need to be honest about that first hour and a half. The action is mind-blowing. The Cyclops, the ship, the scale. I'm in it. But the performance? Something isn't sitting right. The problem is this friction between 2026 vernacular and the King's English my brain unconsciously assigned to Greek epics the moment the first frame rolled. It kept pulling me out. But Nolan is so good, the craft so relentless, that somewhere around the 2-hour mark, well, he wore me down. I stopped hearing it. I accepted it. Not because the language changed, but because the movie was too good to keep fighting. And the harder question, why did I need them to sound British? Am I just trained? 30 years in the industry and my brain defaults to ancient equals accent? Well, that's conditioning, not a rule. Homer's Greeks, they weren't speaking iambic pentameter. Here's where I landed. Nolan made a defensible choice. I'm not sure it was the best. I think he gets about 70% there, but I respect it. The language didn't overshadow the film because the film was too strong to allow it to. The Cyclops scene is the best thing Nolan has done with sound since Dunkirk, maybe ever. Odysseus and his men are in the cave, and then the roar. It's not a jump scare. It's sustained. Uncomfortable. It goes on long enough that something shifts. You stop reacting as a viewer and start feeling it as a person. You just watch this creature eat two men. He's the threat. But the sound is so raw, so pained, that you find yourself on the wrong side of your own loyalty. That's empathy earned through sound. Here's what most people don't think about. They're not watching Homer. They're watching Nolan's adaptation of Emily Wilson's translation of Homer. 3 minds, 2,800 years apart, each making decisions about what mattered. Wilson's 2017 translation compressed the poem by about 30%. She traded formal verse for plain modern English. She focused on Odysseus' interior life, the trauma, the regret, the weight of the journey rather than just the glory. Classicists are still arguing about it. That's the text Nolan chose, not Fagles, not Lattimore. Wilson. And Nolan's never been reverent with source material. He took a comic book and made a crime epic. He took a war story and turned it into a clock. He doesn't preserve a text, he processes it. So when the dialogue sounds modern, well, that's not an accident. Wilson chose plain English. Nolan chose Wilson. Every link in the chain is a decision. The question isn't, was Nolan faithful to Homer? If you want to understand why this film feels the way it does, massive spectacle but intimate psychology, terrifying monsters but Odysseus' guilt as the real antagonist, trace it back. Wilson found the psychology in the poem. Nolan built a film around it. That's adaptation working exactly the way it's supposed to. So there was this fight happening around this movie. Elon Musk says Nolan desecrated the Odyssey. Matt Walsh piles on. Before anyone saw a frame, the culture war had assigned it a position. And here's what's funny. Elliot Page is in the movie for 60 seconds before an arrow goes through his chest. Lupita Nyong'o plays Helen of Troy. Her part is so small it practically waves at you. You could cut her scene and the movie wouldn't change. So what was everyone actually fighting about? Not the movie. What it represented before it existed? Well, that's not a criticism, that's a proxy war. Think about Scorsese in the 70s, Taxi Driver. Nobody asked who he cast as Travis Bickle. There was no existing property to compare it against. It was just a movie. If the character worked, it worked. The conversation was about what was on screen. Nolan didn't get that luxury. He got a room full of people who decided what the Odyssey should be before anyone yelled action. And the irony? The casting controversy is structurally irrelevant. The noise was about nothing. But the noise is a symptom. The disease is that Hollywood stopped betting on original work. When every movie is an adaptation, every frame gets audited against a source text. The conversation stops being about whether the film works. The question isn't whether he was faithful, the question is whether he made something worth watching. And he did. There's a moment where Anne Hathaway, Penelope, is talking to Telemachus. Quiet, emotional, shot on IMAX. And the focus is way off. Not slightly, way off. 5, maybe 10 seconds. And she's moving through a whole sequence of natural shifts. And you can feel the focus puller searching for her. He's dialing up, he's dialing down, but he's never getting anywhere close. Yet Nolan kept the take. And here's the thing about IMAX. The depth of field on that negative is measured in millimeters. On a close-up, eyes are sharp, ears are soft. Everything behind the subject dissolves. It's not a style choice, it's physics. I criticized the film recently for shooting nothing but faces. Shallow depth, background gone, face after face. The difference is that director chose it as a style. Nolan didn't have that choice. Shooting IMAX with a 50 or 80 millimeter lens wide open, there's nowhere for the background to go. He had to accept it. He had to incorporate it. When he does go tight though, just Anne Hathaway's face, that face carries everything. Guilt, longing, exhaustion. The format forces the weight. The actors rise to it. So here's the question. Was that focus miss just the cost of committing to a format that demands near impossible precision? Or is the format doing exactly what Nolan wanted, forcing you to see faces? And the occasional miss, well, it's just part of the deal. I truly don't have that answer. If you do, drop it in the comments. Here's where I land. The Odyssey is not a perfect movie. The third act struggles. The focus occasionally hunts. Some things get lost in translation. Those are real criticisms. But this is a great movie. And the reason is the same reason every Nolan film is great. He didn't make an adaptation. He made a Christopher Nolan film that happens to be based on the Odyssey. He took a 2,800-year-old poem and processed it through his own voice. The faces, the sound, the format, the structure. What came out the other side isn't Homer, it isn't Wilson, it's Nolan. In an era where Hollywood is terrified of original ideas, there's something bold about taking pre-sold IP and making it feel like only one person on Earth could have directed it. That's the verdict. I'm Matthew Lawrence. This has been The Rough Cut, a filmmaker's perspective with no apologies. If you made it this far, drop a comment and tell me what movies you want me to cover next. If this is the kind of analysis you came for, hit that subscribe button and I will see you in the edit room.